to Be the Hero and Rescue Yourself, my podcast and or YouTube channel, depending on which program you're looking at, with Kelly Fullman. So I know that we've got a lot going on right now, and many of us are going to probably be in the job hunt, either currently are or in the process of. And me being laid off for the last 6 months, I feel like I'm a little bit of a pro, but maybe not that good because I have not found a job yet. Now it's going to be even more difficult to find an opportunity or a role because of the coronavirus and COVID-19 pandemic that is going on right now. But I'm going to talk about what I know and what some of my struggles have been over the last 6 months since I have been unemployed. One of the biggest ones is trying to help companies and organizations understand my learning disability, which is dyslexia. And it's unfortunate because the application process here in the United States does not support anyone who has a mental disability unless you are mentally retarded or you are physically disabled. Other than that, they really don't give you an opportunity to kind of help them become aware of your learning disability. Some people say that you don't disclose that stuff until they give you the offer or, give you an offer letter. But unfortunately, during the application process, you're having to fill out applications, you're having to fill out questionnaires, you're having to take different tests that they give you in sequence and memory and putting words into, letters into words and trying to match things and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, for someone who is dyslexic, those kind of time tests and those kind of tests don't work very well with someone like me, and you are not going to see the full picture of my abilities and my talents for your company and your organization. So some of the things that organizations need to start thinking about as they start looking at their hiring processes and their HR processes is how can we support the people that are coming out of school who are dyslexic. Now, I will tell you, I got accommodations when I was in college. They didn't discover my learning disability until I was a senior in high school. So I struggled with no accommodations in school and barely got by. Then when I got into college, I received the right accommodations. I took courses, what they called remedial courses, that did not count towards my degree for almost my first year of my college. So it took me 5 years instead of 4 years to finish my degree. And I got accommodations. Some of those accommodations were having the ability to spend a little bit more time on tests, not take time tests. The other accommodation was if I needed a quiet space to take my test, I had a monitored, proctored opportunity to take the exam or take the test. So, they make sure that I'm not cheating. So they have me in a quiet room, because one of the biggest problems is I read so much slower than everybody else. When people would start getting up and they were finished with their test, it would just completely blow my focus, and I would completely lose my focus, and I just would lose my train of thought, and then I was done for. So those are a few of the accommodations that I could also bring a recorder into the classroom to record notes. So I could make sure that I could bring those notes home and be able to listen to those notes, because sometimes I wouldn't remember, or my handwriting was so bad, or I couldn't spell something and then I couldn't remember what the heck I was writing about. So all of those accommodations are actually doable in companies and in organizations to allow a dyslexic employee to thrive and be successful. So maybe, and one of the biggest issues is the application process. So let's start with there. How can you help someone with the application process? Well, let's start out with the freaking application. So at the very end of every application, they start asking you questions about disabilities, and you can answer, or you can, I don't, want to answer at this time. If they ask you if you're a protected veteran, if you're, all those kind of things, if they, they ask your, ethnicity, if I can even say that today. So one of the things is they just give you three choices when they ask you about disability. It's physical disability, It's mental disability, and they have some of them listed, and I found no dyslexia in there. I found PTSD, I found manic depressive, I found bipolar, I found depression, I found anxiety, I found all kinds of other mental disorders, but none of them had dyslexia in there, or they just have mental retardation, and that's it. And then I have no disability at all. What am I going to do? What am I going to fill out? How am I going to do that? And then you send me a test to take through Indeed. And I've worked with some people at Indeed, and I know quite a few folks there, so I apologize. But your test for a dyslexic person to take these exams is highly stressful. You want to talk about anxiety? Tons of anxiety. I sat in front of my computer last week taking a Indeed test, where you put a bunch of letters in front of me and tell me to make a word out of it. And someone who is dyslexic can't, because I can't see things like that. I can't focus on letters, but you expect someone, and then you judge my intelligence off of that. Why don't you look at my resume? I have 2 degrees. I fought myself way through my degree. I fought my way through learning how to learn and how to overcome my dyslexia, but it doesn't go away. It's nothing that gets cured. It's not like this COVID-19, you get it, and then it ends up going away, and then you've built up an immunity. Dyslexia never leaves. It never goes away. And words will always move around. I will always need to learn differently. You can't just send me a book and expect me to read it. I need to see it, feel it, and touch it. I'm a kinetic learner. That's how most dyslexics learn. That's why I could read a story 50 bazillion times and not remember it. But yet in dance team, I could remember 5 to 6 dances and just do it over and over and over again. So those are some of the things. The application process really needs to change and really needs to support people with learning disabilities like dyslexia, because the cognitive um, uh, tests that you give to see if they have a brain about them. And I get it. You want to push all the bad applicants out, you're pushing good ones out too. You're pushing people that think differently, that think outside of the box, that have had to learn how to think outside of the box, that have struggled and been able to overcome obstacles, are tenacious and go-getters, especially those of us that have our degrees and those of us that have done really well. You don't know what you're missing out on. And then after the application process, the interview process. The interview process, some of us are very social. Some of us have been able to get through our dyslexia because we have the ability to kind of listen and learn and be very aware of other people's thoughts and ideas around us. But we are highly sensitive. We are highly sensitive to criticism. We're highly sensitive to feedback, and how you give that feedback is very important. But no feedback kills us. So if we go through 3 or 4 or 5 interviews and you tell us that, we really like you and we really want to hire you, and we've got a few more things to go through, and here's the steps that you have to take, or you tell me that I've got to do something, but you don't give me specific instructions on how to do it, then it's going to get lost, because all the information gets lost. It's too much emails, too many emails, too many text messages. Too much of that is just too much. Call me. Let's talk it out. Let's fix the problem. But you start sending me emails, and I got to match this email with that email and put this all together. And no, that's not going to work. Call me and give me specific instructions. And then if you want to do a follow-up because you want to have it in writing, send me an email with the bullet points that we talked about. That's it. That's all. Really, that's all I need. And then I'll go with the rest. And if I have questions, I'll ask you. I'll call you. But 9 times out of 10, if you just give me bullet points of what you're looking for, and we have a phone call and we can talk it out, I can give you my ideas or my thoughts about it initially, and we can do that, then I'm fine. I'm totally and completely fine. But you start sending me a laundry list or a book to do a project, Not going to work. We're going to have a conference call or a phone call for at least 30 minutes to figure out how the heck we're going to do this. So the hiring process, the application process, you need to be able to support us, be able to understand the cognitive testing doesn't work. You need to have some space in there to where we can say that we are dyslexic, so you can give us, if you still want to do the cognitive testing, you can do a different type of testing, or just skip the testing and talk to us to see if we have a brain. Period. End of story. I mean, just talk to us. If you don't like us, if you don't think we have a brain, then move on. What have you had to lose? Really, honestly. And then once we get to the application process, we get to the interview process, give us feedback, and don't just give us a laundry list of the things and the steps that we have to do. Help us understand how we can get better, because that's the only way we are going to get better. Once you hire us, don't throw us in a room and just throw us the book and say, good luck. Here's 101 ways that you can get fired. Here's how you learn product knowledge. Good luck and have fun. We've got to have hands-on training, just like anybody else in a new position. Shadowing, training, meet and greets, hands-on opportunities to be able to get into the work itself and be able to work. Gosh, for crying out loud, teach me how to work the damn phones, because I don't know if I have to press a 9, if I have to press an 8 to get out, if I gotta press 3 numbers before I get out. Just show me how to use the damn phone, because 9 times out of 10, an office phone, I won't use it. I'll just use my cell phone because I just know how to use it. Different things like that. Walk me through the process. Visualize with me what it looks like. Don't just shove a bunch of books in front of me and say, here's a bunch of words, dyslexic person, read it, and then you'll get it. It'll be fine. You'll get it. When you have your first client, you'll know what to say. You'll know what to do after reading through all these books. And then I end up going and looking like an idiot, or I'm too scared to make phone calls because I don't know what the heck is going on. And then I don't make any sales and you think I'm stupid. So it's going to take a little bit more time to train us. But if you take the time and the effort to train someone that is dyslexic, once they've got it, they've got it. And they'll be able to build on it. They'll be able to be creative. They'll be able to help you think outside of the box. Maybe you think of things that you've never thought of before because you're just in your lane. And we've had to be creative, and we've had to learn how to learn in different ways. We've had to learn how to open up our horizons and find different ways to do research, and we may have you think about stuff that you've never thought about before, or we have insight that you've never thought about before. So the 3 things that you can do to help someone who is dyslexic, who will probably be one of your hardest working individuals if you do things right, is help them with the application process. Number 1. Number 2, when you're going through the interview process, step by step of the what it's going to look like, what it is going to entail. Help them visually walk through what the day in a life of a job or the role that they're interviewing for would look like. When you do decide to hire them, give them step by step of how that's going to look, what paperwork they need to fill out, if they need to go take a P test, what does that look like, background checks, step by step bullet points. Don't throw them a bunch of paperwork at the very beginning. Help them understand what that potentially looks like, and give them a checklist. A little checklist. You got this, and you've got this, and you've got this, and you've got this, you've got to fill out. And it'll guide them and give them guidance on what are some of the things that they need to fill out and turn back in. When they are onboarded, physically help them walk through a day in a life, and visually help them understand the role, and don't just throw the book at them and expect them to read things and comprehend, because it's not going to happen. And I know that some things that we're going to have to read, I understand that we're going to have to read and learn, because you're a busy person and you've got probably 16, 15 other different, or 100 other different employees that you've got to train and develop. But if you just take that little bit of time to help them learn physically how this job is going to look, and then give them opportunities to physically see how it all flows and how it all works together, they'll be able to put the pieces together, because most of us dyslexics are big picture people. So what's the end result? What's the end result you're trying to get to? Big picture. Help us see that big picture, and then help us work in the details to be able to get to what you want to get to. So those are some of your top things that you can do to be able to help dyslexics get a job. But the first things first is change your application process. I think you guys really need to go look at the laws at the EEOC's, equal employment opportunity, and figure out how you can also include people with ADHD and dyslexia and help guide them through that application process, because I honestly feel like with all the tests that I've been taking, and all of these cognitive tests, I haven't done well on them, and I'll be the first one to tell you. And it breaks my heart after I take that test, because you liked my application, you liked my resume, or else you wouldn't have sent me the test. And then I take this test and then I get booted out and get the rejection letter. Or so many times that I've gotten a verbal offer and then you give me a cognitive test and then I take that test and then you ghost me, which has happened quite a few times. So I just want companies and organizations to start being aware, which is a big reason probably why a lot of dyslexics become entrepreneurs, is because they're tired of going through the rat race of the application process and getting rejected after that first little cognitive test that they have to go through. Because it's really frustrating, because we are highly, highly intelligent. We are very, very focused. We are very creative, outside of the box thinkers. And you won't ever have a more loyal employee if you give a dyslexic person a chance, because it has been very difficult for us to work through our learning disability, and it's there for the rest of our lives. It never goes away. It's something that we don't get cured from. We just learn how to overcome, and we've learned how to learn how to figure out other ways to learn. So if you ever have any kind of influence, you HR professionals out there, over someone who is dyslexic, over your HR processes, your application processes, please, please, please try to figure out ways that you can support not just the physically challenged and the very mentally challenged, but also those of us who have mental disabilities that you don't see, because we all look normal, right? You don't see dyslexia. That's why you're like, oh, that's not really a disability. It's just not, because, she looks fine. Kelly looks beautiful. She's gorgeous. Look at her. She's smart. She's intelligent. She can speak, and then you put me in front of a book and you're like, why is Kelly so slow to learning this stuff? Well, because I'm dyslexic and you're trying to make me read, which I read really slow and my comprehension is not there. So if you physically teach me how to do it, you physically walk me through visually the story of what you're trying to do and big picture wise, then I'll get it. And then we'll get down to the nitty gritty and details, and we can work together to be able to get to that big picture goal. Otherwise, I'm lost, and I'm not even getting or understanding what you're trying to do. So through the application process, those are the things that you can do to support. So what can you support, and how can you support a dyslexic while you're managing them? One of the most important things that I do, and I know that I do myself, is I'm a phone caller. Mainly because reading long novels in emails, or the threads, all the threads, and you're trying to catch up with what the heck is going on and who said what, when, how, and where, and I can't put that whole story together. So making phone calls and making sure that I am talking to the person, and you've got to be okay with me asking questions and calling you and needing to talk to you and talk through things. They may be crazy ideas, they may be stupid ideas, but I just need to be able to talk them out with you to see if I'm thinking right. And then also, it will take me forever to send an email out, because I've got to make sure that email, grammar wise, is spelled correctly. Thank God for Grammarly. That has been a lifesaver. Spelling is correctly, because from sometimes looks like form, bed looks like dead, and all of those are spelled correctly, so it's not going to show up a little squiggly line underneath it. But thank goodness now Grammarly is around and saying, didn't you mean bed instead of dead, or didn't you mean dead instead of bed? So yeah, the Grammarly has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Grammarly, for your support. It has been a lifesaver when it comes to my social media, and spelling, which I get. Spelling is huge, but that's why we have spell check. Now that's why we have Grammarly. So if you want to point out my spelling because you're spelling Nazi, or you're an English teacher, or you're a journalist, okay, I get it, fine, whatever. But before you do that, you need to understand the context of what I'm trying to talk about. And do you agree with the context? Do you agree with the message, or do you disagree with the message? Not just the fact that I spelled something wrong. Because if that's all you got to worry about, no wonder this world is going crazy. Because you're more worried about my spelling than the message. Okay. So make sure they have opportunities to be able to utilize things like Grammarly, to help them with their grammar, help them read through their emails to see if it sounds right contextually, and then also helps you with grammar as well. Because I don't remember punctuations, I don't remember hyperbole, I don't remember any of that stuff. I don't remember where commas go. I don't remember any of that stuff. I have to look it up, or I can utilize the different programs now in technology to help make sure that my emails and or make sure that my wording sounds appropriate. Some of the other things is let them be creative. Let them help you think outside of the box. Because dyslexics are very creative, especially ADHD, and ADD. There's certain parts of our brains that are activated that other people's are not activated. So we may be good in an area and very good in that area. So allow us to do some things in that area that we enjoy and that we're really good at. So those are the things that you can do to be able to help your dyslexics be able to get through and enjoy their workspace and enjoy their job. Otherwise, the most of us are just going to go become entrepreneurs and public speakers, because that's where we do the best. And then we hire everybody else to look at the details for us, which is my husband. So I hope you guys have an amazing, wonderful day, and y'all be sweet. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast, Be the Hero and Rescue Yourself with Kelly Fullman. If you enjoyed listening to my podcast or watching this YouTube video, please follow or subscribe to my channel and walk with me through my journey of celebrating my very own heroes, and an opportunity to learn the valuable lessons they taught me over the years, which allowed me to gain the courage to wear my very own cape and be the hero of my life. You can also follow me on Instagram at kfullman, that's KFUHLMAN, at Facebook /KFullman1, or on LinkedIn, Kelly Fullman MBA. Also, please leave your comments below, because I see feedback as a gift, and it will guide me on how to help you gain the courage you need to rescue yourself. Be sweet, y'all. Thanks.